It's going? Looks like it's going. Hot damn. Right, big dog? Yeah. Right, medium-sized dog? Yeah. Okay, so. Woohoo! Wearing green, baby. All green. Nothing but green today. No patterns, just green. Welcome to Houston Web A Problem Livecast 125. And we're getting ready to tee up that gamma. But before that, one of these. Boom. Okay. All right. So, yeah, we pushed over the 150 barrier. That managed to annihilate like 24,000 puts that were in the 145 to 150 range. I think we're getting some serious gamma next week. So, I'm prepared. I picked up just one weekly call because that's all the cash I had left in my account for 225 for next week. Just to see where it goes. Again, my plan with my calls is I am counting on, I'm hedging. I've got my shares. If it goes to the moon, woohoo! And if the short hedge funds manage to hammer this thing back down again, I plan on cashing out my two calls, turning them into puts, writing it back down, and then doing what the hedge funds do. We'll see. And if that doesn't work and it goes to the moon, then woohoo, my shares win. So that's the play. I'm gonna try and see if I can play the hedge fund game and see just how much cash they're generating for themselves. But man, it's gonna be a weird week. Also, the spread between the short-term and long-term treasury bonds is inverting. The 10-year and 2-year, I believe, inverted already, or it's about to. The next one to look at is going to be the 10-year and 3-month, which that spread actually grew over March, but I don't know how much longer that's going to last. When you get inverted, especially a 10-year and 3-year treasury, that's usually a giant leading indicator for a recession. And the last time it happened was right before COVID destroyed everything. And the time it happened before that was before the 2008 financial crisis. And the time it happened before that was before the 2001 recession. The time it happened before that was the 90 recession. So we've seen it before, and it's a giant leading indicator. What it means basically is that there isn't much faith in investing in stuff in the long term because people aren't going to be able to pay it back. That's kind of what it means. So folks lose their faith in long-term investment. They go for the short-term stuff, and the money gets moved around, and everybody panics, and then the market collapses. So that's kind of the hand-wavy way of explaining that. Okay. Do I have anything else to talk about off the bat? Not really. I mean, we got... I have two dogs to ask rhetorical questions to, and neither of them ever answer me. We might as well go to the super chats here. We got a curious one for delicious spaghetti sci-fi. A read recursion. Groundhog Day meets Inception meets Time Cop meets Apocalypse Now. Okay, recursion sci-fi. Recursion. Okay. On the list there, curious one. And then, Andrew Stewart, Death Clock versus Spinal Tap, who wins? Okay, so they're both bumbling fools, but the bumbling fools of Death Clock result in the death of millions, while the bumbling fools of Spinal Tap only results in the death of drummers. So if there was going to be a battle royale between the two, I'd have to imagine that Death Clock would accidentally murder everybody in the audience while Spinal Tap trips and falls onto a Fusilli Jerry. I think that's how it would work out. Death Clock, everything's spiky and very fatal. Hubert Lee, Moas covering, if they buy a synthetic share, they delete and buy another in hopes of a real one. How do they know? Each share has a serial number. Synthetics have unique number. When lent out, share is bought. 2 positions with same number. Well, when buying, you don't know what you're buying until you get it, until the clearinghouse does its thing. And if they're trying to close all these positions, they're going to buy everything. Because if it's synthetic, you delete it. If it is a real one, you take that real one, you replace the synthetic with it, and then delete the synthetic. So either way, you're going to be wiping out the synthetic shares, closing positions, and getting rid of those liabilities, IOUs, obligations, whatever you want to call them. So they have to buy them all. They just have to. That's the only way they can close. Right? You either delete it from existence or you replace it and delete it from existence. So that's what I think they're going to be doing. Meow meow for everyone. Why did Peter Schilling record Major Tom? Bowie already followed up Space Oddity with Ashes to Ashes. And why does the ending sound like the ending of a Heathcliff theme song? Because Peter Schilling was inspired. I think it was wasn't it originally on an album full of songs inspired by Major Tom? That's what I thought it was. Like it was. I have to look up Peter Schilling, Major Tom. Let's see here. I think it was on like a compilation album. My roommate is being loud on his phone. Watch out, dog. We're just going to close that because he likes to listen to his phone at incredibly loud volumes, and it's the most weirdest thing. Okay. What album was it on? I'm looking at this thing. Was it just a single? Doesn't say. Really detached. Oh, it was on his album. Okay, Error in the System. I thought it was on like a compilation album. I was totally wrong. Oh well, I don't know what I'm talking about. But I think it's a banger, right? Earth below us, drifting slowly. Yeah. Floating weightless. It's a banger. It's a banger. But I don't know, other people may have answers about that. Okay, did I get through all those? Back to the top. Okay. Lost Waves. Check out the band Ne Obliviscarius. You're very welcome. Ne Obliviscarius. Ne Obliviscarius. Oh, speaking of bands, I put in the chat a couple days ago, but I forgot to actually talk about it. I finally listened to Mojave All-Stars. Fucking shreds. Was it Euphoria Morning? Was that your band? I can't remember who told me it was their band on the chat. But I finally looked at my notes and went. It's very much it's like Alice in Chains meets Zakk Wylde Black Label Society. It's thunderous. It's powerful. Yeah. So there you go. That's listen to them. Make another album. Do something. Mojave All Stars. You guys shred. Okay. B-Balls 3710, non-options trader. What other ways are there to capitalize on market drop? Is there a catch to inverse SPY like SPXU? Love the show. There's inverse SPYs. I've played with UVXY. There's UVXX or VXX. Sorry. There's a couple of those inverse ETFs or funds. Yeah, the weird thing is that the market should not be this green. It did like 8 days in a row of 1% gains or more, which doesn't make any sense. Like that should be impossible. That shouldn't happen. That's not how markets should work, especially during a world war and what looks to be another mortgage crisis and massive inflation event and supply chain issues and fuel costs going through the roof and commercial real estate problems and another impending variant of COVID on the horizon. The SPY should not be going up that much as it has been. Doesn't make any sense. Cameron Mirza, BCG is a consultant with the SEC. Isn't that some form of corruption? Ryan Cohen is 5 steps ahead. Yeah. I mean, BCG is a giant consulting firm. They're kind of like what Anderson Consulting, or what they call themselves, Accenture, are. Like they've got all sorts of consulting that goes in all sorts of different directions. And I think a large portion of their consulting is to help short hedge funds destroy companies from the inside. So they'll do things like the short hedge fund gets a bunch of insider evil doers on the board and in C-level executive positions, management by VPs, whatever. And then they approve the hiring of BCG to do consulting. And they pay them a gigantic portion of the remaining liquidity of that company to do the consulting. And then what BCG then is tasked to come up with is ways to destroy the company even more. So like with Sears. Sears had an incredibly profitable credit card arm. They had their own credit card company. It was pretty easy to get approval for the cards. You get in-store credit, discounts, whatever, by using it, points, things like that. Like my sister used her Sears card for all of her appliances and got like enough Sears points or whatever to redo the basement of her house. Like it was just a ridiculous amount of Sears points that she got on that. Well, the BCG came in and said, hey, you know, you're doing so much with this credit card thing. Why don't you just sell it for $3 billion to Citigroup, and Citigroup will just manage all the customers after that. And the Sears team was like, yes, let's destroy our company by getting rid of very profitable aspects of it. So they gave up $30 billion in assets for $3 billion in cash. And then Citigroup got all these folks. So what BCG does is they come in, they give you terrible ideas to sell land, to get rid of like hard assets, to generate quick cash. And that quick cash generation goes into the executive pockets. And then they go, oh, we don't have any more cash. I guess we got to declare bankruptcy. And then it goes to the Delaware courts and everything's fucked. This is what they were doing at Gamestop. They came in. They were hired by the evil insiders at Gamestop who were working for the hedge funds and the plants. And they were probably recommending terrible things. And so Ryan Cohen came in and was like, get the fuck out. And now BCG is upset that they're not getting paid for destroying your company. So, yeah, Discovery is going to be a bitch. And I think, but the problem is also is that they're in the Delaware courts, which if you guys listened to Laser Haas when he came on at Christmas time, he talked about the Delaware courts, that they're stacked against companies declaring bankruptcy, that they are like hedge fund, vulture capital plants on that court. So GameStop may ask to change venue outside of Delaware. I don't know if they'd get that because everyone registers in Delaware. Like, stop registering in Delaware. You could get just as favorable terms in other states without having to go to Delaware and then deal with the Delaware courts if you ever run into trouble. Wyoming, South Dakota, Washington even has fantastic protections for limited liability corporations and C corps and stuff. There's no need to even register in Delaware anymore. Anyway, so you know, we knew that these companies, when they're under short attack, get hedge fund plants on the board. Those hedge fund plants then destroy the company from the inside. No one had quite made the connection between BCG and this until BCG decided to sue GameStop. And all of a sudden, everyone's like digging deep and discovering that there is a funnel of folks that go from BCG to Citadel, BCG to Citadel, BCG to Citadel. It's just over and over and over and over and over. So now that everyone knows this, the secret's out, and I bet now the short squeeze folks are going to start looking at who BCG, Boston Consulting Group, has contracts with. That might be an easier way to figure out who's going to be shorted like crazy without having to look at Ortex or Fintel or Morningstar, any of those things. You just look at who's contracting with BCG. What small cap companies are contracting with BCG, and there's your next short squeeze target. Yeah. Okay. Oh, look what just saved me. Turn off the intro. Dun, 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 dun. Click. Ha ha, suckers. Is that 3 shows in a row now? I think I've done 3 shows in a row. 4 is our record. Not counting the times I got my laptop because I can't forget to make the intro even work on my laptop. So, yeah, 3 shows in a row. About to get to 4. Monday will be 4. Trust me. Okay. All right. Fabrizio GME picked up some April's 14th $60 calls. I would assume you're talking about AMC calls, $60 calls on AMC, because $60 calls on GME are really expensive right now. You spend a lot of money on those. Okay. Tony wants his MMTLP dividend. Me too. Aren't they supposed to do some sort of call in the next week talking about the MMTLP dividend for investors? I thought George said this month they're going to do that. MMTLP investor call. I'm not seeing anything pop up here talking about. I thought he tweeted out something they're going to do some sort of call specifically talking about the MMTLP. But if the dog chewing on a bone is too loud, let me know and I'll disappoint his day. No, all this stuff keeps popping up as earnings call. He had tweeted something out about having a call specifically about the dividend stock and what an oil co and all that stuff. Okay. Curious one, Mr. Wade, what do you think of Dr. Suzanne Trimbath? DRS claims that your shares with your brokerage are subject to the whims of criminals, as they technically aren't yours to begin with. I don't know, man. I'm not too worried about brokerages that are their own clearinghouses and have boatloads of cash and are long on the stocks we're long on, like Fidelity. I think the apex trading firms, the Robinhoods, the Weebles, eToro, SoFi, Schwab, those guys may run into issues, but those issues, I think, if they go tits up, would probably result in someone like BlackRock or Fidelity swooping in and just buying their assets and having all their customers. So I'm not too worried about losing what I have in that respect, because you just take screenshots of your holdings and then I don't know, fight a 5-year-long court battle to finally get a giant settlement, and that's how you might retire. But I'm not too worried about my stuff in Fidelity at all. They're huge. If you do have your shares in crappier brokerages, maybe those things to worry about. But brokerages stealing people's assets is not a great advertisement for future investment. You've basically made it so that people will never use your services ever again, and you're done. And if companies can't get investors, then companies won't exist, right? So I'm not too worried about that. There hasn't been an instance where, the market took a tank and brokerages stole everyone's shares. That hasn't really happened. At most, what's happened is you had guys that were on margin and, Robinhood sold their shares out from under them. Just like, hey, we're selling the shares. Even though you're not being margin called, we're being margin called and we're selling them. And they took it from those folks who were trading on margin. So be a cash account, be it a brokerage that's its own clearinghouse, and that should be fine, I think. Marvin G. Houston, what's your take on inflation after MOAS? A few YouTubers borderline fear-mongering on the outcome. Curious to hear your thoughts. We talked about this in the past. MOAS happens. A bunch of us get rich. Woo! We're buying Lamborghinis and houses and stuff like that. There might be a price increase across some of those luxury goods. But the inverse of that is if the rest of the market tanks, millions of people lose their jobs. They're not taking vacations. They're not commuting to work. They're not, they're pulling their kids out of summer camps, and they're not doing any excess spending. And consumer confidence collapses, and then run-of-the-mill prices drop as well. But we're also combating the fact that there might be like a grain shortage. There could be international upheaval. The supply chain still has issues. So it's kind of might kind of even itself out as a result. But I'm not too worried about like hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is something that happens to currencies that aren't a global currency. Happens to currencies that no one really gives a shit about anymore, such as Germany post World War I, such as Zimbabwe in the early 2000s, or Turkey 20 years ago. Like the runaway inflation happens to currencies that no one wants. Lebanon's having runaway inflation, like absolute just hyperinflation, because no one wants Lebanese dinars. They don't want them. So if it gets to the point where no one wants U.S. dollars, like U.S. dollars can't pay for shit, then I'd be worried. If I couldn't buy product off of Alibaba, let's say some cheap knockoff drill press off Alibaba, and they wouldn't take my $70 US for that, then we'd have a problem. They're like, can you do this in euros? Then the US dollar's toast. But the United States exports dollars. That's our number one export. It's not services or digital products. We export US dollars around the world and get shit in return. China exports products. We export our dollars to China. We just print them up, send them to China, and China goes, thank you. And that's how it works. The minute we can't export our dollars, that's when I'd be worried about inflation. But people still want them. Russia says they don't want them, but they actually do want U.S. dollars because the ruble sucks. So, yeah, China might pretend like they don't want it, but there's a reason why they sold, $14 trillion in municipal and real estate bonds to people who invested in U.S. dollars. They want our dollars. They need our dollars. Our dollars make their economy run. Okay. Squams. I can't wait for that. I have so many spaghetti-related questions. Oh, Chris, you're so weird. You ever going to get your Twitter back? What happened to your Twitter? I always thought you always had funny shit on there. Just make a new one. Make a mustache account. That's what I did. You lose your Twitter because you talk about Putanesca, just put a mustache on your face and make a new account. G-Font YYC, I bought some Koss, tiny float, no options, very little ETF exposure. It might be a diamond in the rough. Koss is a weird one. Yeah, they only have 2 million float, 2 million change. It's like 90-something% owned by the family. Thing about Koss is that like the scions, the children of the founder who now control everything, I don't think they give a shit about it. I think they're too busy, doing blow off of hookers to really care what happens with their company. Like they just blinders on, company set on autopilot, their products will be sold at Ross and TJ Maxx, they don't care. But it's incredibly shorted. There was when Koss won the lawsuit against Apple about wireless headphones in September, stock price went to like $25, and 14 million shares traded, which was 7 times the entire float in one trading session. So, there's shenanigans with Koss for sure. Purportedly stupid. Houston, AMC will mow us next week. Guaranteed. How do I know? I liquidated all of my AMC to YOLO. The rest of it into 2,500 MMTLP shares. Holy shit. Damn. It's more than I have. Yeah. You just doomed us all. Thanks a lot, Purportedly Stupid. You didn't even knock on wood before you did that. Oh well, that's live and learn, right? Okay. Pankaj Kumar, Houston, you explained on Wednesday's show if hedge funds can make $52 billion from 3,000 on several full swings in 6 months on GME only. Why would there be a liquidity problem for them ever? This can go on forever because of how they use that cash. So, if they use that cash and buy up the wrong things as assets under management, and that stuff goes blink, such as, I don't know, Russian bonds or Chinese bonds or I don't know what company's been totally hammered recently, the DocuSign, whatever, then all that liquidity they made disappears and it's gone. So, you know, what they do with that cash, if they made that $52 billion and then use it to short, do nothing but short GME down $52 billion bucks, all they did is made their liability even larger. They just added to, actually they wouldn't just short down $52 billion, they'd short down 30 times that. So $1.5 trillion. So, you know, so then all of a sudden they got 1.5 trillion more in liability that they're going to have to take care of. That's the problem with having a 30-to-1 margin, is that every time you get a win, you use it to increase your liability even more. And in this situation, I think that these are all like short-term wins for them, and then they just dig the hole deeper. So, yeah. Okay. Yes, there's some weirdos in the chat today. Thoughts in Judas? What? Exclusive 605. Anyone's beginning to feel less and less confident in this panning out in our favor without a major incident or catastrophic market societal meltdown. I mean, that's probably the most likely way it will happen. When the economy collapsed in 2008, there were tons of short squeezes that happened because, you know, these firms just got eviscerated, and all of a sudden their liabilities came due. So that's where a lot of price action happened on just weird stocks that have been shorted like crazy for, you know, apparently no reason. I think this time around it's going to be worse because there's so many more hedge funds and family funds and everyone else whose entire business model is heavily shorting. And when I was talking about last show about, you know, it's one thing to like, oh, this company isn't doing very well, I'm going to short them because I think, you know, their business model is bad. It's another thing for 300 family funds and hedge funds to all attack the same company that was doing fine, obliterate them, and then it turns out that there's too many bad guys punching on this dude, right? That how to describe it? It was like coyotes and deer, right? So the coyotes ate all the deer and then they all starved to death. And then the deer population exploded again. So the deer ended up winning in the end by having too many coyotes. These short hedge funds, there's too many of them. They made the short interest way too high, created way too many naked shares. And as a result, they just murdered the deer population, and now they're all going to starve to death. So, you know, the deer population is going to explode again. That short interest has come bite them in the ass because we figured out buy and hold and what gamma squeezes are and everything else. And so, like, I think next week is going to be a pretty good week. I'm sure it's going to roller coaster because that's what they do. They roller coaster. There might be hedge funds now that know this roller coaster is happening, and that's why they didn't fight that hard today to keep it from going to 150 because they really want it to go through 350 next week because they have a whole bunch of calls, and they're going to let it go to 350, exercise that shit. Then they're going to use all those shares and just short the hell out of it again, sell them all. And the price is going to collapse, and then they'll buy a bunch of puts, and they're just going to do that as many times as they can until the liquidity crisis hits everybody and there's no more cash to be had for folks. Okay. Princess says, Dr. Trimbath speaking the truth, cheating marriage trade sold off my entire portfolio without ever sending me a courtesy email notifying me of the issue because I owed monthly fees I was unaware of. Oh, you had margin or something, or you had some sort of trading level 2 or something that was like a $5 a month fee. Ooh. they should have notified you. But yeah, if you have some sort of like monthly fee, gotta make sure you take care of that, because they will just close your account if you aren't paying that fee. I don't understand why they don't just like be like what they would with a hedge fund and just liquidate 5 shares of stock to pay that fee rather than closing the entire thing. But yeah, sorry about that. That sucks. Big dog, what's happening? What's happening, big dog? Yeah, you're gonna just drool. You've been drooling. Oh, your mouth is so slimy from chewing on that bone. Ew. Ew, big dog. Don't put your head on the keyboard. That's really gross. Okay. Andrew Stewart, Houston, why do people of the world do so many things against their own interest? Are we stupid or ignorant? Maybe it's just instant gratification. Yeah, we do. It's the old adage. I voted for the leopards tear my face off party, and now my face is being torn off by leopards. We do a lot of things against our own interest. We have states that union busting laws come in with euphemistic names like right to work states, which result in lower wages and less job security. People are like, yeah, we got a right to work state. Cool, you're earning half as much as everybody else. Good job. Way to be proud of that. And you can think about even the corporate level. People look at short-term gains and never look at the blowback that can result. I think I talked about when Boeing did the 787. So Boeing planned to spend, a few $1 billion developing the 787, this composite airplane that was going to be made different way of making an airplane. Dude, your hair is everywhere. Just breathing in, I just eat your hairs. You are just such a shedding machine. So they made this huge, airplane, and development took a long time, and they also were like wanted to just use this to like revamp their entire structure. So a few years prior, they left the Seattle area and moved their headquarters to Chicago, because they didn't want machinists and assembly line workers being able to come and protest them. They said it was because of the traffic, so they moved to a city that actually had worse traffic. So they moved the headquarters to Chicago, out of the Seattle area. And then they decided they wanted to outsource huge portions of the construction of the 787 all over the world. So, dude, it's just hair. It's just in my mouth constantly. So they wanted to get parts of it made in Europe, parts of it made in Japan, parts of it made in China, parts of it made in South Carolina. And the goal of it was, hey, if we have these planes being built in Japan and built in China, then Chinese airlines, Japanese airlines, and so on will want to buy our planes because it supports jobs in those areas. It makes total sense. The problem is that they outsourced a lot of the composite manufacturing to China, and then China created a much cheaper composite airplane to compete with the 737 using that technology. They stole the tech from Boeing to make a plane that's better and cheaper than the Boeing 737. Good job, Boeing. You just lost out on your intellectual property. They also decided to build in South Carolina where there was right to work and they could get cheap labor, like cheap labor. And South Carolina's offering like $1.4 billion in tax breaks. So if they built a plant there, it's like, hey, $1.4 billion tax breaks, tee it up. So they build this factory in South Carolina. None of the workers are trained. None of them know what the hell they're doing. Unlike the 100 years of experience that plane building in the Pacific Northwest has, with Boeing being headquarters there for so long and basically building most of the airplanes for the entire country, the entire world for most of the last century. And the planes that came out of South Carolina were so dangerous and so poorly made that to this day, like 15 years later, they're still sitting on a tarmac at Payne Field. There's like $25 billion in planes that arrived inside their heavy lift 747, and they're so damaged and broken that they're just sitting there. And so to save $1.4 billion in tax breaks by having this factory in South Carolina cost them like $25 billion in losses in the development of the 787. It was so bad that several of the planes, they had to pay the expensive engineers, like the engineers who make like $250,000 a year. Those engineers had to go through and rewire entire airplanes that came out of South Carolina because it's a fly-by-wire system. So if you put that shit in backwards and the pilot goes, oh, I'm going to go drop, and the whole plane flips around. I don't know. So, you know, sometimes you might have these grandiose ideas like, oh, we're going to save some money by having these guys build it, and we'll guarantee some contracts by having the Chinese over there do it. And then you end up with Japanese batteries that explode. You end up with Chinese stealing your technology, making a cheaper plane. You end up with planes that don't work because you have an unskilled workforce that's making minimum wage halfway around the country, halfway across the country, and you lose way more money than you ever. Like, oh, we're gonna spend $5 billion. Oh, we spent 30, and it took us 5 years longer. And we now have a new competitor popping up in China because China steals all of your tech when they get the opportunity. Yeah, it's just short-term thinking results in really, really dumb blowback. Boeing still, like, they're still doing it. They did it with the 737 Max. You know, they knew that there was issues. They oh, fuck it, we'll just let some Ethiopians crash some planes. Just do things right the first time, man. That's not that hard. just do it right. Okay. Oh my gosh, your breath on my leg is so warm right now. You big breathy beast full of shedding fur. Scrolling. Okay. Princess, imagine how many public companies have been shorted to bankruptcy and how much money retail investors have lost the last decade of regulators doing nothing to enforce regulation or investigate them. I mean, last 30 years, man. They've been doing this since the 1990s, early 90s. When they discovered they could short naked using the FAST system, they started doing it like crazy. Once like that little exploit happens, one person goes, oh, I can do this and make a bunch of money. Then everyone else goes, oh, I can do that too and make a bunch of money. And they all start doing it. And they'll exploit that loophole until the economy collapses. And then the government goes, oh, man, I shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have made that loophole. I guess we got to close that loophole. And then they'll find the next one. And I'm curious to see what the next one will be. You know, it was mortgage-backed securities. Now it's naked short selling. And the next one will be something else. Euphoria Morning. Hey, Houston, have you seen anything about back rooms on YouTube? It's a creepypasta thing. Idea is you're glitched out of reality into another dimension. Super spooky, but so well crafted. I've never heard of it, but I've heard of people talking about how the Large Hadron Collider at CERN, when they turned that thing on, it resulted us in blinking into a worse, darker timeline. I always thought that was funny. Everything just went to shit after that. Everton, hi Houston, how green are you today? I am very green today. Very, very green. If Perseverance rover find out that there was once life on Mars, would you change your view that Mars cannot be terraformed? No. Because the reason why there once was life on Mars was because Mars had active volcanoes and an active magnetic field. And without those two things, ain't gonna have anything left on Mars. It's probably been 2-3 billion years since Mars's molten core was no longer molten. It froze. So if you don't have Van Allen belts, magnetic field protecting you, and you don't have a thick atmosphere and any way to maintain that thick atmosphere, because Mars is pretty small. Mars is what, like an 1/18 the size of the Earth, something like that. Has 1/3 the gravity, then solar winds can just blow your atmosphere away. And if you don't have volcanoes constantly pumping out more atmosphere on a small planet like that, then your atmosphere decay just happens, and you know, it's not thick enough to make anything warm, allow anything to breathe. You can't breathe at 100,000 feet on Earth. The air is too thin. You got to wear a spacesuit. So if you're flying in a U-2 or SR-71, you're wearing a spacesuit flying in those planes at those high altitudes, because your blood will boil at altitude and you'll freeze to death. So Mars is the same way. Mars' atmosphere is so thin, it's the equivalent of our atmosphere at 100,000 feet. If you wanted to terraform it, you wanted to make an oxygen-rich atmosphere, you'd have to remove 97% of the carbon, maybe more, right? And all that carbon dioxide, that's the majority of the atmosphere, would then become oxygen. So all the carbon gets sunk into plants or whatever. But oxygen has no insulation properties. O2 doesn't insulate anything. N2 doesn't insulate anything. So the atmosphere would become so much colder. We're talking at most 18 degree Fahrenheit high is the highest temperature possible on Mars. And at night, the temperature would drop to minus 170 every single night. So nothing could grow or live there anyway. And even if you unfroze the poles on Mars, there still wouldn't be enough gas to insulate anything, to keep anything warm. So no, Mars, if you're going to go to Mars, you're going to be living inside of a bubble, and you're never going to be able to like live freely. You're going to be able to walk around like you can on Earth and pick up some grass and have a great day. You are stuck inside a bubble. If that bubble cracks and you get dust on you, you're dead. Because you don't want those perchlorate dusts on you. Kamikaze trading. If an electric car had gears like a conventional car, would it be more efficient? There are some that have had gears. But, you know, the torque on an electric car is instantaneous. So I think they just don't even bother. Because you have as much torque no matter what until the coil melts when you get to like 15,000 RPMs or whatever. So I don't think they bother. But there are some like the fancy race car version ones, the McLaren P1s and stuff that still have gearboxes that they're tied to. So I'm sure the acceleration then just becomes even more insane if you're looking at gear ratios. Right, big dog? Yeah. Like you're such a sweet dum-dum. Yes, you are. And monkey butt just loathes that you get attention and you seek it out. It's okay, monkey. It's okay. Helicopter at your dog. All right. Oh, super chat. Don sees your shed. Shed. Did I say it? Don sees your shed. Like certain theories, folks, people think quantum computing company D-Wave has opened a portal to hell. I loaded up on shares. I like portals. D-Wave is probably an excellent investment because one of their engineers is going to steal everyone's crypto coin like that one of these days, and they'll be the wealthiest company in the entire world. So, probably not such a bad idea to be investing in D-Wave. So, yeah, not a bad idea at all. Plus, you know, calls on hell probably will go a long way since we're just living through one right now. Protege's son, wildest toy ever, Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab, was a radioactive toy sold in the 1950s. Came with 4 samples uranium-bearing ores, autunite, toberite, uraninite, and carnotite. Yeah, I remember seeing stuff about that. Do I have... What did I do with my yellow cake? I can't remember what I did with it. It might be in a bucket in the garage. I have my more dangerous things in buckets in the garage, like Tiffany stone that leaches beryllium and stuff. But I have a big piece of yellow cake uranium that I carved out of a canyon wall somewhere on the federal lands, pretty close to Capitol Reef National Park. Let's see if we can... Google Earth, come up on this screen. Okay, that's Rhode Island. We're going to go from Rhode Island. We're going to go all the way across the country to Utah. Whoops, too far. Utah, down here. Okay, there's Escalante. Bryce Canyon, Torrey, Hanksville. Where's Boulder? There's Boulder. Okay, there's Boulder. And then you follow I think this is the... Shit. Where's those switchbacks? It's the Burr Trail, I believe is what it's called. Okay, Burr Trail Road. Okay, that's what we're looking for. So Burr Trail Road, take that for a long ways. Da, 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 da. It goes and goes and it 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 goes. I went through here. There's a bunch of dead cows that fell in a ditch. They're all rotting. Keep following Burr Trail. Keep following Burr Trail. Keeps going. Keeps going. Keeps going. Eventually, there's some crazy switchbacks. Where are those crazy switchbacks? Goes to the canyon. Goes to the canyon. Keeps going through the canyon. Some more dead cows here. Doesn't end. Doesn't end. Where are we? Where are we? Where is Crazy Switchbacks? Where are you? Pretty sure it was on Burr Trail Road. I mean, it's like 10 years ago. Just watch me follow a road forever. This is like me doing bird's eye view. There it is. Okay. All right. So these crazy switchbacks. Bing, 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 bing. Beautiful, beautiful place. Absolutely gorgeous. You pass through. This is all Navajo sandstone up here, and then there's what's it called? Cadena? Is that the name of it? I think Cadena is the name of this rock. That's below it. There's a seam. There's a volcanic ash layer seam. You can kind of see it between the two rocks here, and you can kind of see the scope of the switchback. Like, it's pretty darn big. And where these rocks meet, there's a very rich uranium seam, and you can literally pull out yellow cake uranium out of the rocks here, and then you continue on. It's beautiful though. All these different colors of these different sandstones that are all layered in. This whole block got tilted basically. And so it was layered like this, and then plonk, tilted at an angle, so now the layers are sloped. And then you get down here and you pick right or left to continue on to Capitol Reef National Park, or to continue south and eventually make it to Arizona. But really, really cool spot. Really, really cool spot. And just a beautiful, amazing drive down these switchbacks as you pass all these rock layers. It's just cool. I recommend taking that drive. And then I decided to go south, and if you continue south, the Burr Trail ends up turning into a canyon. And I was trying to get down here to take a ferry across Lake Powell or whatever, and my truck was too wide to continue on the trail. And then I trapped a bunch of cows in the canyon with my truck because they couldn't get past me, and it probably ruined some rancher's day. Had to go all the way back, drive all the way up, go through Capitol Reef, pass through these really weird regions here, Green River, and then back down. And then you get to... oh, crap. Dugway. It's another really cool switchback. Oh, sorry. It goes south. Dugway. I can't remember the name of it. Dugway. Moki Dugway. There we go. Where am I? No, is it? Yeah, this one's it. So you come down and you do these other crazy switchbacks here, and then come out Moki Dugway. It's a crazy cliff, and there's at every turnout there's a beautiful little like view. You pull over, and there'll be Navajo members of the Navajo Nation selling cool turquoise and silver jewelry and stuff, and they'll chat your ear off. But you come through this like huge plain, and all of a sudden you just fall off a cliff at Moki Dugway, and then head down into Arizona after that. It's really beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous drive. If you ever are on Utah 261, I recommend that as well. All right, now you got me distracted for a while. Let's get back to the chat. And no second intro. Okay. You guys are really good at getting me off on tangents. You're like my students. My students love getting me on tangents, and then I just spend half an hour talking about nothing related to our class, and they like victory. But then they don't realize that I'll test them on it. You get me on a tangent, I will put it into the final, and you'll have to answer what I was talking about on that. They have to learn their lessons the hard way. Okay. All right. And people talking about gearboxes, line of friction. There you go. That makes sense. Black Udon likes the chartreuse. What do they call it? Rave green when the Seahawks wear it. Fried tater. Aloha, bud. Okay. Stonkinator, what would you suggest book or education-wise to learn options? I didn't ever read a book specifically. I mean, I read articles online and I watched videos and then I just practiced with penny stocks. That's some people they'll make their own little program and they'll play that way. But if you throw, find stock that has a penny option or whatever and make you charge 5 cents, it might cost you $5 to buy the options. You will pay for the education by learning what happens to your money. You're like, oh, my $5 just disappeared. That sucked. Then you try to figure out another way. Oh, my $5 turned into $15. All right, I won that one. That's the way I did it. Gherkin has actually a really good series of videos he put out on kind of explaining what all the Greeks mean on options, and theta decay and what delta and gamma all mean. I recommend those. He does a pretty good job explaining it to folks, so check those out. But a book specifically, I never dealt with one, so I don't know I don't have anything I'd recommend. Sorry, man. Crafted Genius, would you tell us if you're a shill? 100%. But I might have to wait until after I file whistleblower status with the SEC. Because I don't think... Yeah, I have to ask about that. Because, if Citadel came along and was like, we'll give you $3 million, shut the fuck up. Pay me. And then I would go straight to the SEC and be like, Citadel just gave me $3 million to shut up and not do my show anymore. I think that's market manipulation. And then I would collect the millions of dollars in fine money that they would level on Citadel after that. So I'd make money twice. That's what I'd do. Because why not? I'm going to pay you. I'll take $3 million. I'll put that $3 million back into GameStop. And I'll let somebody else be the mouthpiece talking about it. But they haven't offered me anything yet. I'm kind of bummed because other people I know, they're in this racket, have been given offers. But, no one's given old Houston an offer yet. Take that money in a second. My portfolio would be gigantic. Imagine putting $3 million, if last Friday, I bought my one little $119 call last Friday, and it's already up $3,500 or whatever. Can you imagine doing that? But what, 10,000 times? By 10,000 $119 calls that all go up, 1,000% in a week. Oh man, that'd be really nice. That would just be the tits. But oh well. Come on, Citadel, pay me. Please? Okay. Ideas matter. My MetaMat calls are screaming up today. Thanks for giving me the idea. Did they go up? I actually wasn't looking at mine. I was paying attention to Gamestop so much, I was not paying attention. My MetaMats, they're kind of flat for me, but maybe the weeklies are going up. Metamaterial was pretty flat today, but it's been up since what? Was it down to $1.40 when last week? Maybe 2 weeks ago. So it was down. Yeah, 2 weeks ago it was down to $1.40, and then screen passed $2 for a minute, but now we're at $1.88. So things are going well. They're going well indeed. So not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Forest Fire Houston, are the borrow rates for GME increasing indicative of another squeeze coming? I think it's very indicative of another squeeze coming. It means there's too many lent out, there's not very much available, and the reported short interest is also probably going up as a result. So that tells me that the lenders know that there's going to be some margin calls possibly coming. And so it's a pretty good indicator that next week might be really good. We haven't had interest, borrow fees, borrow rates this high since what, January last year. So I think things can go big. They can go big. Do you think they go big, Monkey? I think they go big, right? You'll get an extra special long walk if it goes big next week. How about that? Snurmurner. I like the dog cam. The dog cam was a great investment. I appreciate the fact that the monkey can sit there and just everyone can just watch her take her nap so she's bored out of her mind while I talk to a wall. She does not understand at all why I talk to a wall 3 times a week. She's like, I'm just going to sleep. I don't get it, man. And it makes no sense. This dude's insane. He's just, there's a bright light shining in his face and he talks to a wall for 6 hours a week. Okay. Vimy385, banks won't loan with inversion. Truth. Credit crunch, man. And Chris P, stock market doesn't seem aware of incoming recession. They are all like la 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 anytime this stuff happens, and it's the very few. It's the very few who are like, oh, shit's about to the fan, and they hedge and they win huge, and everyone's like, how'd they see it coming? And it's same every time there's a recession. It's the same story. How'd they know? Andrew Stewart, why is there a sand dune desert in the mountains? Let's see here. So that's 4106. Is this Nevada? Where am I? 4106. Let's look at this. Let's figure out where Andrew Stewart's sending us. Bam. Am I still Utah? Oh, look at this guy. Okay, that's a big old bunch of dunes. Where are we? Let's zoom out and figure out where we are. We're in mountain range. We are in, Colorado. Oh, we're not too far from Kelsey Lake. There's a couple of them here. So this type of sand, see how white this sand is? This is silica-rich sand. And that's usually the result of erosion of like silica-rich rock by wave action, lakes, you name it. And then the wind keeps grinding it up and making for these dunes. There's a couple of them here. I haven't been on this side to see these dunes. So Red Feather Lakes, I've got a diamond claim here. I've got a couple of diamond claims up here in where's Keystone? Keystone's somewhere in here. But I haven't been to this particular spot. So this is all granitic rock. Like this is all ancient craton that the continent is built on. This rock is old as shit. And my guess is when this stuff was built, it was probably under an ocean at one time. And so you have all sorts of sandstones also in this area. And that's why you get these little sandy bits. All these lakes here are all probably kimberlite pipes. Diamondiferous. These are all diamondiferous kimberlite pipes leading into Laramie from these are the Medicine Bow Mountains, what these are. On the border here, I can never find it without. There's Kelsey Lake. Bam, bam. Oh, quite on the other side. So here's Kelsey Lake. This was the only commercial diamond mine in the United States. That little guy, Kelsey Lake. And this here is a giant kimberlite pipe that was the Kelsey Lake diamond mine. And they're producing $100 million a year in diamonds. So they opened in 1997, and by 2003, they were basically forced to shut down because their equipment kept exploding, people's dogs were getting murdered, and it was basically the De Beers cartel was like, stop selling diamonds, or we're going to kill everyone. And by 2003, they're like, fine, fuck, we'll stop selling diamonds. The whole operation shut down. This is on a private ranch. I don't know who owns the mineral rights to it now, but the largest diamond ever found in the U.S. was here. It was a 26-carat diamond that cut down to like 8 carats and sold for around $10,000 a carat when it sold. Also, it's shaped like a big old schlong. But there's so many more diamonds here to be mined. It's insane. And now that De Beers has basically been crushed by the Canadian government, I bet whoever invests in this to build a new diamond mine would make some great cash. But you can look and see in this area. So like Red Feather Lakes, where my claim is. There's Red Feather Lakes. So see all these lakes? Every single one of these lakes is basically a kimberlite pipe. Every last one of these fucking things. All produce diamonds. And the streams that come out, you can pull diamonds out of all the streams in this area because they've just been eroding for 1 billion years, just sending diamonds downstream. All up through another one of these giant dog hairs. Dude, seriously. Stop shitting. You're supposed to be a doodle. Why didn't you get the doodle parts? So all these lakes are all kimberlite pipes, and probably half of them have diamonds in them. And if the ranchers in these places knew just how many trillions of dollars in diamonds they're sitting on, they would... Oh, another one. Just dog hair. They wouldn't even bother with cattle anymore. Like, there's just so many. Every single one of these little dried up things, the little lakes, all of them are diamondiferous. Anyway, we got talking from sandstone to diamonds because this is my diamond zone. You can find them pretty easily looking at satellites, looking at the little lakes. But also, if you go into the mountains themselves and you get to some of these treat areas, you'll find these little meadows. And just a random meadow sitting in the middle of the forest. That's not been logged. This hasn't been logged. It's that the kimberlite pipe, the kimberlite rock erodes so much more quickly than granite and becomes really kind of loose sand and clay that any tree that tries to grow in this just falls over anytime there's a wind. And so you can identify these kimberlite pipes by finding these weird meadows with soft soils that are just full of tons of wildflowers, because the wildflowers love the volcanic and nutrient-rich rock, but the trees just can't find purchase and fall over because the soil's too soft. And you dig deep, and eventually that stuff turns blue. The little tube up behind me, you guys have asked about in the past. This tube, that jar up there, that's kimberlite from Red Feathers Lakes. It's been sitting in a jar for a while. But see here, I don't quite see this. It's blue. It's kind of hard to see with the jar and everything. There's tons of mica in it, so it's very reflective. Looks like metal fleck paint. But this is kimberlite clay, basically, from that area, and that's from the poo water. My claim is a little lake that cattle have been shitting in for like 150 years. And so you have to dig through 150 years, like 10 feet of cow shit to get to the kimberlite. It is disgusting. But in 2 weeks of dredging with just a little 3-inch dredge, we pulled out like 80 carats in 2 weeks. Not too bad. Paid for the trip. Had an adventure. Smelled like shit the entire time. But, you know, it's fun. Okay. Oops, wrong. Didn't mean to go there. Okay. Back to the chat. Borrow raise, dog cam. Og me meet someone, you meet one, then we fall in. What? You guys are so weird. Sad Boy Incorporated News. Houston, have you ever seen a UFO or something that you couldn't explain? Twice. Once when I was a kid. I was maybe 9 years old. Summertime, walking back from my best friend's house, and this crazy light went zigzag, 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 shot across the sky, and then shot back, and then that was it. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Went home, told my mom, I was like, I just think I saw a UFO. And then she told me about the time she saw a UFO when she was living in the Virgin Islands when she was like 22 years old. And that they were the only ones in the Virgin Islands to report it, but then a ton of people in Puerto Rico had seen it. And then the other time, I think I talked about this on the show before, I think. I may not. Can't remember. I can't remember if I told my students about this or you guys. But in Utah, there's a lake, or a canyon. Goose Neck. Yeah, state park. So there's a park in Utah on this canyon, Gooseneck Canyon. So big canyon. It's deep. Let's see here. Canyon wall, 5,000 feet. Canyon floor, for 4,000 feet. There's a 1,000-foot drop here. So if you drive along the highway, you'll see this sign that says, "Hey, State Park." And driving along, and it's 3 a.m. Got to go to sleep. Need something. I just need somewhere to pull over. It's just a long, straight stretch of nothing else. And so, hey, park this way. So driving along, just headlights. And all of a sudden you come to the spot, and there's, maybe a couple of tents or whatever. Set up the tent. Went to sleep. Woke up. Stepped out of my tent to discover there's a 1,000-foot cliff right outside my tent that I did not see, because your headlights look straight out, and it just looks like there is a plateau that continues, because this side is also at 5,000 feet. And so it just looks like a big flat nothing. So you don't see the canyon. So anyway, sitting along the canyon wall, eating breakfast, paper bowl, Cheerios, eating breakfast. And this jet thing, making no sound, comes around this bend, flies right past me where I'm eating. And very slowly, it's this black, weird jet UFO looking thing. It's definitely human in the cockpit, because he looked at me and he waved. And I'm staring at him. And he bent down the canyon again, bent around the canyon. I ran to the other side. I watched him come back this way. He waved to us again and then continued on down the canyon. The vessel did not make a sound, and it was not going very fast. It was just floating along, going by this canyon at like car speeds. And if you were in a real jet, you would not be able to make these turns without exploding. So I don't know what kind of crazy skunkworks craft was floating along in this canyon, but the fact that they were floating on that canyon probably meant they want the rumors out there that whatever they're working on. That was maybe, when was that? 2003? 2004? I was still in college. Yeah, one of those years, 2003, 2004. Weirdest thing I ever saw. Like, this dude just locked eyes with me and waved, and then kept flying. It was fucking weird. So, it's an unidentified flying object because I have no idea what it is. It flew. It's an object. It's unidentified. I've never seen anything like it since. So those are my 2 experiences with UFOs. Okay. Where was that UFO question? There it is. Okay. How I Met Your MOAS, Yahoo Finance showing HYMC being 1,342.65% short. What? How much are calls on HYMC? Okay, I have you on this list. HYMC, still trading $1.30. Trade options. Let's do May 20th. So $2.5 call, 28 cents. Man, okay. You get a $7.5 call for 8 cents. That's $8 per call. Huh. That might be, well, August 19th, same. 18 cents for August 19th. That might be worth some gambling. That might be worth some gambling indeed. I'm going to buy 100 of those suckers. Those go up to $7. 100 of them, it'd be $10,000. That wouldn't be so bad. All right, that's something to think about. But seriously, Yahoo has it at 1,300% listed as reported short interest. That's insane. Insane. Okay, Space Monkey, Houston, happy birthday. Glad Mom is doing well. She's doing really well. She's doing so well that she's like forgetting that she's supposed to be using her walker. She like gets up and moves around, like does dishes, like, oh shit, forgot my walker. So the hip is repaired, man. It's fantastic. Can you do me a favor and play intro again? My wife has never seen it. I would hate to go back. Are we going to get a pity intro? Is that what you guys really want? You want a pity intro? Fine. Remember to turn it off. There we go. All right. There you go. There's your pity intro for your wife. Andrew Stewart, bullish on dog hair and slobber. Second intro forever. Dude, this dog shit. It's just like he's been here in this house for a week now, and it's just drifts of it everywhere. It's on every. It's just everywhere. It just won't end. And I swear there's another one in my mouth right now. Monkey butt like barely sheds, and her fur is this long, so you don't notice it if she does. I'm just seriously, dude. How is it? It's just I need to wear a mask in my own home. This beast has so much surface area, and there's just you just grab a handful of them, and it just comes up. It just comes up. Yeah, I just grabbed a handful of your fur, and it just came out like you're a balding cancer patient. Okay. All right, Andrew Stewart. Yes, so much dog hair. All right. Seriously, Yahoo has HYMC. I'm going to look this up. I'm going to look this up right now. Yahoo. Finance. HYMC short interest. Is that this one? Have I? Oh, I forgot to link the. All right, turn on Google Earth, into the void, turn on Chrome. Here it is. Okay, done. All right, Highcroft, short interest. I don't know where short interest is listed on Yahoo at all. Or how you find it. Where would it be? Chart conversation statistics, maybe? Fiscal profitability, income. Share statistics, average volume, blam, average volume, shares, and float, short interest. Shares short 11 million. Wait, short as percent of float, 1,342.65%. Holy shit. That's damn. All right. Well, that's going to squeeze. Faux show. 1,342.65%. Okay. All right. Percent short outstanding is 18.25%. That's because there's gigantic insiders now ownership of it. So, we might be... Highcroft might be a shit gold mine, but again, we got overpopulated deer population. The coyotes are eating them like crazy, and now the coyotes are going to starve. 1,342.65% reported short interest is insane. I mean, that's the kind of stuff we calculate for GameStop, but they're only reporting like 18%. This is reported, which means these guys were so ballsy that before the buy-ins by Sprocket, what is the guy's name? Stanley Sprocket. It's the Jetsons, dude. Sportcraft. Sperm Count. What was that guy's name? The one that did the same amount of buy-in as AMC did on this. Yeah, that's... It might be worth some gambling of calls on Monday. Man, we're in this because we're gamblers, right? Indeed. Let's see where it goes. Indeed. Let's see where it goes. Okay. Damn. Drew Sol, interesting GME gap at 280 to 290. June 8, 2021. I know gaps like to be filled, so fingers crossed with current gamma squeeze. Wall Street Bets interest has re-engaged. Yeah, I was reading something last night about if we broke past 145, that it's pretty much open to 180. So, and doesn't seem to be much fight left in the short hedge funds at the moment, which leads me to believe, which is why I believe that maybe that they're holding a bunch of calls they want to make a pile on, and before their liability gets too big, they're going to jettison those calls, use that to short us down. That's what they've seemed to have, that's what I think they've been doing in the past. Kyle Griffith, in your opinion, what is the greatest invention ever made? Ooh. Greatest invention ever made. Oh, man. I mean, probably soap. Like, that's probably saved more lives. Soap, water purification, those two things probably save more lives than pretty much anything. Soap, water purification, and toilets, sewers. Those are probably top 3. And then you start adding like electricity, other stuff that makes your life pretty easy. But just knowing that you should wash your hands every once in a while, and like boil your water and take baths, those are pretty important. I mean, they're not sexy. They're not like, cell phones or satellites or stuff like that, rockets, laser beams. But if we're going importance-wise, soap. You can shit in the woods, but wash your hands after for sure. I mean, what was the dude's name? The one that discovered that the Catholic midwives, had a much lower mortality rate for new mothers versus the hospital. What's that dude's name? And it was because they'd wash their hands before they dealt with the women, and that the doctors at the hospital, they spent all day working on cadavers, and there's also bacteria in these cadavers, and then they would go and like help a baby give birth, and they would just jam their fingers covered in all this like necrotized bacteria, and it would kill the mothers. So he's like, hey, wash your hands. And everyone's like, fuck you, I'm not washing my hands. We think I'm dirty? And he's like, yeah. So, wash your hands, save lives. All right. Fried Tater, my son and I we're watching a nature documentary about marsupials. Is there a geologic angle as to why Australia is so unique in flora and fauna? Yes. To the maps. Come on, Google Earth. Let's show why. All right, gotta zoom out from Gooseneck State Park. We're going to show why marsupials exist. All right, so marsupials at one time dominated Gondwanaland. Gondwanaland was the connection of Australia, Africa, Madagascar, India, Antarctica. South Africa, South America, Africa, Madagascar, India, Australia, Antarctica, and New Zealand. So at one time, all these places were smacked together. Now, New Zealand broke off before marsupials appeared. So New Zealand has no marsupials. It broke off first. And then Australia and South America broke off from Africa, basically. Madagascar and India motored away. And Australia was so disconnected that all their mammals either were monotremes or which are weird primitive mammals that lay eggs and secrete milk through glands, through like pores of their skin. Your duck-billed platypus, and what's the other one? The one that's toxic. Can't remember the other one. The other one, weird proto-mammals. And then in marsupials, pocket pouch mammals. And then there was a whole bunch of them in South America as well. And South American ones, they had just giant freakish marsupials. But 6 million years ago, the land bridge between Central America and South America connected. And then all of the big scary panthers and mountain lions and shit came in and just ate all these dumb, stupid marsupials. So South America doesn't have very many left anymore. And that's just the possum. I think the possums are the only ones left. And the possums made their way all the way up into North America as a result of that land bridge. So they managed to like outwit the scary cats, but everything else got eaten. And then, Africa is where like big scary mammals basically came from, and they ate all the marsupials as well. So there's none left here. And so Australia ended up being like the last bastion of marsupial land. The other weird things that developed were lemurs. So there were lemurs in India and lemurs in Madagascar that arose. And then India broke off from Madagascar, and when India slammed into Asia, all the scary primates, and monkeys and shit that are way more advanced than lemurs came in, just kicked the shit out of lemurs. So I don't know if there's any lemurs left in India, but because Madagascar was alone, it remains like the lemur haven until humans destroy all their habitat by trying to cut down trees and mine sapphires and stuff. But that's largely why you find weird shit in Australia, because they've been alone for so long. And then also New Zealand's got weird shit too. So when you have a lack of more advanced creatures that weren't quite meant to inhabit those niches start to develop. So you get weird things like Kia birds. Kia birds are parrots that filled the niche of crows. So you go to New Zealand, you're gonna have these asshole parrots that like tear apart your backpack and fuck with you all the time, and they're filling the niche of the crows in New Zealand. And then you have the what's the ground parrot? There's a giant ground parrot because there wasn't any terrible predators. That's like 3 feet tall, and it acts like a weird little chicken that kind of climbs around the forest, pecking at the ground. And it's a flightless parrot, lays giant eggs too. So you get weird niches filled by these things. That if invasive species come along, they're like, well, you weren't meant to do this. You were poorly adapted to this, and big continental creatures just kick the shit out of them, and then they're done. So like in Mauritius, out here in the middle of the ocean, Mauritius here, this is where dodo birds were. And dodo birds are these giant 50-pound naive birds that just like hung out in Mauritius and ate crap off the ground. And they're totally naive. They'd never seen a human. And so, if you were in a ship and you stopped off at Mauritius, you could like tap on a tree and all these 50-pound delicious birds would come out and go, what's going on? You club them over the head and eat them. So we ate them all out of existence. And the dodo birds were actually from pigeons. Some pigeons landed on Mauritius and they're like, hey, there's nothing here. This volcanic island's got nothing. It's got a bunch of plants. We can eat everything we want. And so they don't have to fly around anymore. They just got fat and they just evolved into these giant flightless birds because there were no predators. And because there were no predators, they didn't know that they should be scared of anything, so that when humans arrived and ate them all, they didn't put up a fight. And so there's some weird evolution that happens. A fantastic book. Shit. I don't think I have it in here. I think I got water damage. Flight of the Dodo. No. Flight of the Iguana. Crap. It's a David Quammen book. I think Flight of the Iguana was one of his books, but the dodo... Oh, shit. What is it? What's Quammen? David Quammen. Dodo. Song of the Dodo. That's what it was. Flight of the Iguana is a collection of essays. Song of the Dodo is a fantastic book about island biogeography. It was basically our textbook for my biogeography course and doing my geography degree in college. Amazing book. Absolutely amazing. So let's see here. This is the book. Incredible. Absolutely incredible read about science and nature. And not just like the biology of how this evolution happens, but like the science behind the land area, the impact of it. So they talk about, you can make artificial islands by deforesting the Amazon, right? Because you cut down all these trees for the Amazon to make room for cattle and crops and stuff. And so the scientists went like, hey, if you're going to cut this down, like, can you leave a 1 square mile section of forests? And we're going to count all the animals now. We're going to come back after you made it 1 square mile and we'll count how many animals are left. And then they made different sized little islands of forest. And they tied it to the number, like, let's say an unlimited Amazon forest, you might find 1,000 species of animal because it just covers 3 million square miles. So you got 1,000 species of animal per square mile. But if you cut that sucker down to 1 square mile, all of a sudden you'll have like 100 species of animal. You make that thing 100 yards across, you might have 25 species of animal. You make that thing 15 yards across, you might have 2 species of animal. Then they went to island chains in the Caribbean, measured their size, and counted the number of animal species there were, and it tied almost directly to like these little false islands they made in the forest. Really cool stuff. And it profiles Jared Diamond. So his initial work was in island biogeography. He's a biologist and geographer. And he studied snake species on these little islands in the Gulf of California. And how many species you get in different size islands and whatnot. That was his original, became famous. He and E.O. Wilson worked on this stuff. And then he went on while doing research. He was in Papua New Guinea, and one of his porters asked him like, "Hey, why do white people have everything? Like, why didn't my culture invent guns and be able to take over the world? Why did your culture do that?" And he's like, I don't know. And they ended up writing Guns, Germs, and Steel and Collapse on that. So he became like, because of that question, he went from island biogeographer to like probably the most important anthropologist that's been in the last 50 years. Smart dudes profiled in this book. Amazing read. You want to get a bunch of wrinkles in your brain about natural science, read this thing. Pretty much read anything that David Quammen has written. His essays are amazing. He's done tons of essays for like National Geographic and other things. Probably the best nature writer alive, I think. Just incredible author. Amazing. So there's your book recommendation for the week is David Quammen, Song of the Dodo. Read it, grow your brain 10 sizes, and go, whoa! There you go. Peak asks, whoops, shit. Of course, it just skipped ahead. Now I was going to answer. Peak was asking something and then the stupid thing. Oh, no! I think I lost Peak's question. Peak was asking something about, I think it said Gamestop and a banner, but I didn't get to actually read the question. Shit, now it reset and it's gone. I'm sorry. The wild, wonderful ape of West Virginia. Can you look at Fairmont, West Virginia on the map and explain why it gets more precipitation on average a year than in Seattle? Fairmont, West Virginia. Sure. Why not? We'll go there. Okay. Scene. Why are you doing that? Don't go away. Go away. You come back. There we go. All right. Fairmont, West Virginia. Okay. Bum, 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 bum. All right. Okay. So, Fairmont, West Virginia is leading up to the foothills of the Appalachians. Okay. First of all, Seattle doesn't get that much rainfall. We get about 47 inches a year. New York gets more rainfall than Seattle does. Lots of places in the area get more rain in Seattle because it doesn't rain very hard here. It's mostly just drizzle. It just drizzles and drizzles and drizzles, and it will drizzle from November until April. And each day you're getting like 1/10 of an inch of rain. There's not much rain at all. And it's just this spitting little drizzle that just never ends. Up in the mountains, they get tons of rain. Before I go to Fairmont, we'll look at Seattle. So we have more days of rain than anybody else. It just stays soggy because it's cold and raining and sprinkling. Now, Seattle has tons of storm systems that just come pouring in from the Pacific because the trade winds blow, the jet stream just blows these storm systems in, and they hit us constantly, especially in the wintertime, and it just rains and rains and rains and rains and rains and rains. But it's a spitting, light little drizzle that doesn't end. But because this constant trade wind is blowing, what happens is the winds hit the Olympic Mountains here, and they're forced to go from sea level up over 6,000 feet and back down again. And so you get these big rainforests. The whole rainforest is here, and they get several hundred inches of rain a year in this area. And because most prevailing winds are like west and somewhat from the south, you get a little rain shadow because if it blows this way, when you get to the backside and the air descends, it warms up and it dries out. And so Squim only gets 16 inches of rain a year, whereas right over here you get like 300 inches. So there's a big difference between these two sides of the mountain. Now sometimes if the wind blows directly from the west, the rain shadow will happen in this area, and I'm here on Bainbridge. So we'll get some rain shadow here certain days. But for the most part, most of the wind, if it comes from the south, comes right up through here, so the clouds bring it all the way through, and then we get drizzled on and drizzled on and drizzled on. And then you get another kind of proto-rainforest in the Cascades, as these clouds now have to go up over 6,000, 10,000, 14,000 foot mountains. And you get lots of rain in the mountains here, lots of snowfall. And then you get over to the eastern Washington and come out backside of the mountains. The air descends and it dries out. And you only get 10 inches of rain out here. So this whole area is just a big desert. And it's a big desert that has lots of farms because irrigation from the Columbia River that comes through here. But yeah, this place is all dry desert sagebrush except for the irrigated farms. Now, if we move across the country, and the landscape after the Rocky Mountains becomes fairly stable. So it's somewhat desertified on the western slopes of the Front Range here. The eastern slopes of the Front Range here. And so it's sagebrush, dry. But as you descend in altitude, you get storm systems that come up from humid areas, from the Gulf of Mexico, blending with the trade winds coming from the west. And this makes a lot more rain in this area. So the southeast especially gets way more rainfall on average than Seattle does. But Seattle gets more days of rain. So they have more days of sunshine, but just harder rain when it rains. In places like the foothills of the Appalachians, you get that same orographic lift where all of a sudden the clouds are forced up and over these mountains, which causes them to condense even more and drop more rain. So you're going to get more rainfall on the leading edge on the western side of the Appalachians than you would in Seattle, because we don't have we aren't quite to the mountains where we're trying to drop a lot of moisture. So that's why you'll get more rainfall here and more crazy storm systems and stuff than we do in Seattle. Seattle is pretty tame. We don't get too much adverse weather except for big windstorms every few years. But we don't get thunderstorms very often. Like if we get lightning, we're like, oh my gosh, it's the first time we've seen lightning in 5 years. Whereas out here in the east, you guys get shitloads of lightning. Your storm systems are way crazier than ours. They've been blowing across the plains, making tornadoes and all sorts of shit before they ever get to us. So, did that help? Did I help you on that one? I hope I did. I like Fridays. Fridays go all over the place. Okay. And I apologize again if I didn't get your questions. I'm more than an hour behind the chat so far. So, it's Friday. That friggin' guy, Houston, do you think AMC GME squeeze will get LME'd, meaning London Metal Exchange? No. London Metal Exchange is a different animal than GameStop because, there were these metal futures that were dependent upon the 7% addition of nickel that was going to make it from Russia into the nickel markets each year. And Russia got cut out of the nickel market. So there was a bunch of futures on nickel that all of a sudden the nickel vanished. And people were like, ooh, we can squeeze this sucker. And so they kept buying contracts for nickel that didn't exist. And that's why the price exploded. So London Metals Exchange just canceled everything and said, no, that nickel doesn't exist. We're not going to let it go further. The problem is that the London Exchange has continued to not allow the price to go up further. Like every time the price rises, they close the market again, which, the British, I don't know how regulations go in Britain and what allows them to do that, but I don't think that would fly in the US because these folks need to close their positions. It's not like they need to close positions on nickel. They just, guy had a bunch of, basically a bunch of puts on nickel, the equivalent of whatever it is in the commodities exchange, and he's underwater and he's hosed. Here we have a whole bunch of naked options. So basically fake contracts, naked shares, naked options, fake contracts for shares that don't exist, and they've been trading for a long time. We've been buying them. Whereas when the fake contracts for nickel that didn't exist happened, the London Exchange shut it all down. So basically, they're not letting naked sales of non-existent nickel happen. That's what they're putting a stop to. So it's different than our situation where for 30 years they've allowed the naked sale of shares of GameStop that don't exist and other shorted stocks. So they have to let them close that stuff out. So I don't think there's a way they can get away with shutting down the market and somehow just magically waving their hands and then everybody is cured of this ailment of naked short selling that's happened. So no, I don't think we can get LME in the same way. Mupulin, welcome. Can you please explain how debt swapping works and how it can defer gamma squeezes? Okay. Well, I don't know how it can necessarily defer gamma squeezes per se, because they still have to deliver. They still can be forced to deliver T+2 for a lot of those things. But on the whole, it delays a lot of FTD expirations. So you have debt. That debt is in your name. And that debt might be, 1 million undelivered shares. So somebody bought 1 million shares from you. You didn't deliver any of them. The brokerage is forced to put a synthetics on the account of the buyer. And they got the clock ticking. They're like, okay, We're at T13, you get some trouble. At T35, you're in dead meat, buddy. And so you go, hey, other hedge fund, you have a bunch of shares you didn't deliver. And they go, oh yeah, we're about to be T35 out of existence. And so what you say is, all right, I'm going to take my 1,000,000 shares. I'm going to trade them with your 1,000,000 shares. And then we reassign ownership of that IOU. The problem is that there's a glitch in the matrix. There's a loophole that when you receive that other T35 and you put your name on it, you like scratch their name out and put yours on it, it resets. So the T35 starts all over again. So the broker goes, oh, you're going to get it, buddy. But wait, you're a different name on there. In 35 days, you're going to get it. And so in 35 days, they're like, oh, I want to trade, swap, and they put their name on it and it resets again. So it's a game of hot potato. That if, I don't know, the intern is responsible for doing that or something is sick one day, then people might get screwed. But this T35 rebirth happens every time they swap this debt with somebody else. They put a new name on that list. And it's a stupid loophole. You should like it'd be like saying you have a mortgage on your house, right? And your neighbor has a mortgage on their house. And you're like, oh, I haven't paid my mortgage in like 3 months. And the bank's like, we're going to foreclose on you. But if I trade my mortgage with my neighbor's mortgage, all of a sudden I get another 3 months. That's kind of what they're doing. It's the stupidest loophole and so easy to close. And the SEC sounds like they're trying to close that loophole, but they wrote a rule for it Christmas time or January, somewhere in there, and just didn't pull the trigger on it. I think a lot of hedge funds started screaming, no, don't close our loophole. And, it is what it is, man. But I don't know if they can necessarily defer a gamma squeeze, because they wrote those contracts. That T+2, I don't know if that necessarily gets reassigned. Like a lot of them have to make good on that. They have to deliver. They got 2 days to deliver those shares on those options. And I think it might set up a little different than just straight up naked selling shares. Okay. Yeah, you fur beast, you big furry monster. Yeah, you just doughy-eyed. Yes, your brain is so small. It's the tiniest thing. Yes. Okay. Oh, GameStop banner change on their Twitter account? Is that the question was about? Nothing burger. Okay, I'm not worried about it then. I didn't hear about that. Tyler English, did you see BCG involvement in Portuguese airline company? Top, I believe it was called. They have had bailouts despite protests and failing business strategy. Of course, we have BCG thing. The BCG, I think, wants to get these folks into a debt spiral, where you're over leveraged, and the only way to make money is to sell more stock. You have to, we need to raise another $1 billion, so we're going to issue another 100 million shares. And then that dilutes the float, stock price goes down, and then you're like, oh, I still need more money because keep giving way too much bonuses to the top guys in the company and whatnot. So we got to make another 100 million shares, dilute the float again. And eventually the stock price goes to like zero, you get seller box, and it's over for you. And you're in bankruptcy court, and that's it. So BCG, I think, is a tool used by the short hedge funds to basically lead to a debt spiral that ends up seller boxing these companies. Chris P. GameStop's community manager just said he broke the banner by mistake and can't fix it. What is this thing about the banner? I'm going to look at this. All right. Oh, so there's no banner. That's what we're looking at. Google Earth, go away. So there's just no banner. Everyone's freaking out because there's no banner. All right. Okay. I wouldn't notice this stuff at all, so I have no idea what it would all be about. Mupulin. I don't, if you remember, but we were supposed to have a gamma squeeze last time. It didn't happen. I wonder if Monday is the same. Thoughts? Well, we got a little bit of gamma squeeze. When was it? It was in November. So week 4 November, we got a bit of gamma squeeze, but it was short. It was just on Monday. The price went to like 250, 260, somewhere on there, and then it's been basically going down ever since. We had a little bit of a jump in price in January, not much in December, but for the most part, it's been getting like suppressed ever since. This time around, I don't think there's physical shares to borrow. I don't know if these guys necessarily quite have the liquidity yet to make naked shorts, because they did it all through January and February. So they may be relying upon these call options to all go in the money, generate them a bunch of cash, and they use that cash or shares to short the shit out of it and drop the price back down again. That's, if gun to my head, that's my guess that's happening. So that's why we didn't see much fight today, because they actually want these calls to trigger. And oh, dude, that was a horrendous burp in my face. Whoo! You breathy dog. You just love at least it's a quiet burp. You're polite about it, but my goodness. An insane amount of air comes out of your stomach when you do that. It is just like a whoomp. Yes, then you just sit there and you look at me with so much love in those doughy little eyes. But yeah, them's my thoughts, Mupulin. All right. Daphne, I've heard April 4th is significant in the markets. Any idea why? Not a clue. It's the first day of trading in the new quarter, I guess. Or no, so the Friday might be the first day of trading in the new quarter. What's the first? The 4th is my first day of classes I'm teaching for this quarter. So, that's why I got paid attention to. I love teaching. I hate setting up the website. I procrastinate on that stuff. I haven't mentioned hot ice. Okay. Clean me up, Scotty. Sundial on Tilray. What do you think of weed stonks? I mean, I'm not a weed guy, so I never really pay attention to them. But they rocketed yesterday after, I guess, the Senate voted to expand or to allow some legalization of marijuana. They should just legalize that crap already. Just get it over with. The fact that, like, here in Washington, you can go to a store that's like a mile from my house and buy as much marijuana as you want, smoke it all day long. But if you go to Texas, you're going to go to prison for the rest of your life for that same stuff. It reminded me of a story that my friend, I think it was one of my friends, might have read it. I don't know. My brain was like meant all together. But at the pot shop, some guy from Texas is complaining about, here in Washington, you guys don't have freedom. You guys don't know what freedom is. And then the guy behind the counter was like, dude, you're buying pot. Try to do that in Texas. Go to Texas and have all the freedom you want. Go to prison for having, a little bit of weed on you. But legalize it all. Just legalize it. There's no reason to send all these people to prison and spend all that money on them in prison for just, driving slowly. Okay. William Morgan, clean up Scotty. Clean up Scotch whiskey. Buy the rumor, sell the news. That's exactly how most of it works. Buy the rumor, sell the news. 4:14. I got 15 minutes left, folks. 15 minutes and change. There we go. Okay. Vimy385. Venus was once habitable? Maybe. Venus had runaway global warming. And they can never return. So if Venus got a pinch too hot where the oceans boiled off, once the oceans boiled off, released any CO2 that's trapped in them, and then the atmosphere became so much CO2 and was so thick with it that it will never cool off again. Venus is so insulated that on the sun side, it's 900 degrees Fahrenheit, and on the dark side it's 900 degrees Fahrenheit. It does not let heat out. That's how insulated that CO2 is, because there's so much of it. We're looking at 90 pounds per square inch in the atmosphere, where we're at 15 pounds in here. And it's because it bled off all the oceans. All the oceans boiled off. It exposed all of the sulfurous material, sulfurous rock to this hot water vapor, which then made sulfuric acid. So the atmosphere is full of sulfuric acid. So it's 900 degrees, pressure that's, 6-7 times more than our atmosphere, and it's full of sulfuric acid. So, Venus is no longer habitable, but it may have been at one time. If there was a way we could lasso Venus and pull it out to where Mars is, maybe it might have a chance of cooling off and becoming habitable after millions of years of sitting, but we don't have that. Maybe we could take a big vacuum cleaner and suck all of Venus's atmosphere away and then slowly introduce atmosphere to it. I don't know that would work either. Okay. Coffee and Donuts agrees. That's a good idea. Look at BCG customer base to find next short squeeze. Probably not a bad idea. If anyone started doing that, I bet Unusual Whales is probably like, ooh, that's a new ETF I can create. Yeah. Say my name. Say it. Big Dog must miss your sister. Seems like he's always right beside you. Yeah, he's almost knocked me down the stairs 5 times because he loves to lean on me. If I'm going down the stairs, he leans on me and pushes me down. Is he gonna be the death of me, you furry beast? Fred, how would your blood boil while freezing to death? Has to do with lack of pressure. So why people put salt in boiling water at altitude? Because the less atmosphere you're in, the easier it is to boil water, because there's not as much pressure. So at high altitudes where there isn't much pressure on your body, your body expands, and as a result your veins expand, and as a result there's no pressure on your blood, and your blood all of a sudden is able to boil, and you get bubbles in your blood and you die, while also freezing to death. So it's not like a heat boil, it's the result of a lack of pressure. Did I explain it well? Man, where's the... Did I still have my... I think my human spaceflight textbook was online, so I don't think I had a physical copy of it. But they explain the physics of blood boiling. If you ever happen to read a human spaceflight textbook, they talk about why your blood will boil in zero in a vacuum, in no pressure area. Don't let that happen. And you get nitrogen bubbles in your blood if you've been deep underwater for too long and you try to resurface too quickly. That nitrogen nucleates all of a sudden, and you're essentially boils your blood. So that's why depressurization is really, really bad for your body. So then you have to go in the hyperbaric chamber and sit there for a long time, and you get the bends, and it takes forever for your body to heal. Somebody who scuba dives could probably explain that to you a lot better than I can. Project Sun, with the issues with Mars, why hasn't the science community laughed at Elon's project out of the room right now? They kind of have, but no one's paying attention to him. And so, but he keeps paying scientists to do this work. They're like, well, fuck, might as well, if I'm gonna make money off of it, I might as well do it. So they'll design stuff for him, and secretly they're like, this is the dumbest shit ever. So that's why, going to Mars is useless, man. Great course. I've seen Total Recall. Okay. Bill Coyne, top management builds a company that moves on. Next top management cuts costs, and the system still runs. Next top management cuts costs, etc. Repeat the system until the system fails. Rebuild, repeat cycle. That's kind of how it works. Hire BCG to help you streamline your business out of business. Okay. I like chocolate cake uranium. I love some chocolate cake uranium. Your thoughts on the observer effect? Which observer? There's several observer effects. Like the observer effect that we can't pinpoint where an electron is because we alter its state. What the that observer effect? Or observer effect where we can't truly observe something in nature without affecting it in general? Like, Monkey Butt knows when I'm staring at her, don't you? Don't you, monkey? Don't you, little monkey dog? Oh, wait, come for a little pat. All right, get some patting because you deserve some. Big dog's gotten too much. Yes, here, give you some exposure so everyone can see you. Okay. Purportedly stupid. Houston, please stop pumping Timmins. It's a garbage city filled with garbage people. I should know I am garbage. No, Timmins it's a shithole. I'll tell you that much. I haven't been there since like 2009, but man, what a rundown place. Timmins is such a shithole. You know, gold was flying high 2009, 2011, $1,700, $2,000 an ounce in that time, and they could not attract enough people to mine the mines. They were offering like $200,000-$300,000 a year to just sit in an air-conditioned truck and drill holes into a wall and pack TNT and watch it explode because no one wanted to live in Timmins. It's one of the most mineralogically rich places in the entire world. The Porcupine Gold Rush is the largest gold strike in human history. Like, there are single mines that produce 2-3 times what the entire Klondike Gold Rush did. You know, we've got these heroic stories about the Klondike Gold Rush, everyone, you know, risking their lives. Only 12 million ounces of gold was ever discovered in all of the Klondike since the late 1890s to today. There are single mines that, as a byproduct of their copper operation, have produced 20 million ounces of gold. So the Timmins area is one of the crazy, most mineralogically rich places, and we're going back to the map. You brought up Timmins, purportedly stupid. It's because you're so stupid. You brought it up. So we're going to the map. We're going to talk about Timmins again. Timmins, Ontario. Here we go. All right, there's Timmins. Cochrane also has some gold mines up here, but Timmins, you've got the Hollinger mine, the Dome mine, the Porcupine mine, Kid Creek mine, tons of other smaller ones all out here. Each one of them produced 20 million or so ounces of gold. And in this little region right here, over 100 million ounces of gold have been produced from several mines. So this region, which stretches, I don't know, how big is this? So about, 18 miles across. So 18 by 18, 200 square miles. So in this 200 square mile region, over 100 million ounces of gold have been produced, and who knows how much copper, silver, nickel, whatever has also been produced in that span. Now we go to the Klondike. We go up to the Klondike and up in Yukon, and we go to Klondike, and you know, this entire section of the Yukon has produced 12 million ounces of gold. It's nothing. Like, fuck your Yukon. White horses for pussies. You want to go get eaten by black flies out here in Timmins and hate life that way. But man, seriously, you can watch your dog run away for days. 9 months of winter, 3 months of bugs. There's about a 2-week window at the end of August that's not like freezing your ass off and is not full of mosquitoes and black flies. That's about it. Although Shania Twain is from there. Shania Twain and the Cowboy Junkies have come from Timmins and never went back. They're done. Although the Hollinger mine shut down, they pretty much played out. Oh, where's the Hollinger? Isn't the Hollinger mine? Is this dome? Yeah, there's the Hollinger mine here. So the Shania Twain Center was built on the edge of the giant open pit of the Hollinger mine. And it's like a museum to Shania Twain. If you want to tour the mine, you go through the Shania Twain Museum. But I don't think that's exactly where it is. I think it's over here. If I remember correctly. Somewhere along here is the building. And you go and you like go in the elevator and go down and explore the mine and stuff for $30, and then they give you a little certificate that you did a mine tour. But yeah, this is where Shania Twain's from. And then I think this is the Dome mine. I think this might be the Dome mine. I think they opened this one back up because gold prices got so high. And then the Porcupine mine, I believe, is this one. That one, I think that one's still operating. And then I can't remember. There's a mine out here. I can't remember the name of it that opened up and is doing huge stuff. But man, yeah, this town though is depressing. It is really just a layer of sadness on almost everything. Sorry if I'm shitting on Timmins, Ontario, but you know, Timmins is a place to be from, not a place to move to. That's my opinion on Timmins. Pretty stupid. So yeah. All right. Donnell, just because you're awesome. Oh, thank you, Donnell. Thank you. Yeah, I love the Friday shows because you guys just get me on all the weirdest tangents. We talk about the news of the week and then we just talk about weird shit, and I love it. Okay. Chris R. Gamma next week's gonna be sexy unless they pack them away into swaps. I don't know. I'm thinking seriously that they want this to run a little bit so that they can make some moolah. Bobby Norwood, Houston, good afternoon. I was wondering if you ever use credit debit spreads, and if so, what your experience is. I'm considering using them next week for Jimmy. I have never used them. I've never tinkered with them, so I have nothing I can relate to you on them. So you may have to find somebody else. Once you start getting more and more complicated with the financial securities and derivatives, it leaves my realm of being able to like keep track of everything. Because I seriously don't spend my day with the charts up, watching them all day long during trading. I just can't pay that kind of attention, or get up that early to do that. So I usually, if anything, I get something, I set a price on what I'll sell it at, and if it happens to sell while I'm sleeping or not paying attention, cool, I'm happy. Sometimes it bites me in the ass and I sell it, like the AMC option this summer. My $15 AMC options all of a sudden rocketed from 69 cents to $12 or something. I was like, sweet, made $1,200 on these suckers, let's sell them. So I put that in my limit, sold them, and then the next day they went to $7,000. So sometimes it can bite me in the butt, but it also doesn't make it so that I miss that curve and then I'm back on the 69 cent side and then life sucks again. So that's, yeah, I when it gets too complicated, I just can't pay attention anymore. Spencer's inside out sweater. Timmins isn't all that bad. They have a Hampton Inn hotel. That's about it, unless you like potholes. There was a hotel that actually was pretty nifty. The antenna on my truck took off all the fire insulation in the parking garage, and I'm very sorry about that. But we're past statute of limitations, so I can admit that now. But what was that hotel? There was one hotel that had if you entered in on the ground floor, or I guess the basement, I'm not sure how it was. The foundation was built into the Abitibi greenstone, which is a really beautiful rock. And so the bedrock is the wall of the hotel, and it's just this beautiful black and just rich green. The mineralization here is awesome. There's a gas station. Let's see here. Where's the gas station? Somewhere downtown there's a gas station, and there's this giant wall of talc. Like, the gas station's cut it, like, they make the parking lot flat, they cut the rock out, and it's this expused talc. So you can just like pull out talcum powder essentially out of the rock wall. It's really cool. This might be the garage. So this might be the hotel. I can't remember which hotel this is. But the ground floor of the hotel is seriously this beautiful Abitibi greenstone. So we can look at Abitibi greenstone. Oh, you guys can't see because I don't have the map up. Duh. I think this might be the parking garage where my truck antenna took off all the fire insulation. So if this parking garage burns down, it's the fault of my truck's giant CB antenna doing that damage. Oops. But Abitibi greenstone. Abitibi greenstone. Abitibi greenstone. Not the greenstone belt. I want the greenstone. Images. Show me some Abitibi. No. You're just showing me the greenstone. Turn you off. You're just showing me the greenstone belt. I want Abitibi stone. That's the actual stone itself. Here we go. So this picture is pretty shitty, but there's the greenstone in here. It's generally copper rich, so that's why it's green. Here's gold ore and Abitibi greenstones. This is what the rock looks like. It's beautiful green. And if you polish it up, it's really pretty. And then you'll get these quartz veins through the rock, and that's where the gold will be. Will be in these quartz veins. So you can see there's veins here, veins there. That's where all the gold and metals will be. You can see it's kind of rusty because there's iron in it as well. But it's a beautiful rock. And if you polish it up, it's really pretty. So that the basement of that hotel is really cool. But I wish I remembered the name of the hotel. Maybe find a picture online someday. If I ever go back, I'll find the hotel and go like, that's the only good thing about a building in Timmins. So Proportion Stupid, you grew up in Timmins, man. That's, you got out. So good for you. Mr. Robot, any thoughts on the nursing shortage? Many hospitals and nursing homes are losing staff to agency and now making 3 times their base salary. Truth. It's another one of those issues where subcontracting doesn't actually save you money. My mom was a nurse, and she retired 4 years ago, and then COVID hit, and the Veterans Hospital was begging for her to come back, and she's like, I'm an old lady. You want me to go take care of COVID patients and die in 3 weeks? No, I'm not. No, I'm staying retired. A lot of nurses are burnt out. My friends in healthcare are burnt out, man. They are tired of it. And hospitals, I don't get hospitals. They will fight and fight and fight and fight their nurses on like a pay raise or pensions or benefits. So nurses quit, and the hospitals have to go out and hire these temp nurses, these travel nurses who are making like $20,000, $30,000 a month. So like, no nurse who will spend all of her time here and work for us loyally if we just gave her a 5% raise. Well, I'll not give you a 5% raise. Oh, you left. Well, shit, now I got to pay this person 300% more than I paid you to work here temporarily. I guess we'll have to do that to save money. Doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, hospitals need a big revamping in the U.S. And, I mean, they're hemorrhaging money to begin with because they had to postpone so many outpatient and elective procedures for so long because these COVID waves kept hitting, and you can't have a bunch of people going into, surgeries sick with COVID. That's not the best way to have them recover. So, yeah, so we need some consistency in our hospitals, and consistency may come from nationalizing our healthcare system. I don't know. I'm all about universal healthcare. I'll talk about that all day long. Okay. Tyler English Houston breaks the shill hiring algorithm. It gets stuck in a loop. Space rocks finds. Space rocks finds. That might be it. I talk about too much stuff that's not just like one stock. I don't know how. I am in awe of the folks who can like successfully do an 8-hour show during trading hours and just talk about one thing for those 8 hours. I don't know how they do it. I don't. If I had to talk about just GME from 6:30 in the morning until 1 o'clock in the afternoon Pacific time every single day, all day, I would jump out that window. It's only 10 feet off the ground, but still, I couldn't do it. You guys, I need you guys to like get me bouncing around, talking about other things, because my brain can't be focused on one thing all the time. It doesn't work that way. Okay. Coffee, Donuts, and Homer. Our agency is so short-staffed. Great wave retirements. Yep. A lot of boomers are retiring early. They're expecting to work longer, but now they're like, I'm not going to put up with this, and they're leaving. So, yeah. Damian Bellman, do you have a bigger position in GME or AMC, and why? I have a way bigger position in GME, like 90-something% in GME compared to AMC. AMC was a curiosity. I was like, oh yeah, buy this as well. Might as well have something else that can pop. At first, when I invested into it, I was thinking, oh yeah, GameStop will squeeze, and then there'll be another squeeze on AMC, then another squeeze. And then I realized it's all going to squeeze at the same time. And then I looked at the numbers. So, you got 1 million plus investors in GME. Okay, cool. I bet it's much more than that. And you got 4 million or so in AMC. Awesome. But the float is 10 times the float in AMC compared to GME. And then you look at the board, and the board is like, I like the board better at GME than AMC. And unless the price of GameStop is more than 10 times the price of AMC, GME is actually the better deal because you're getting more percentage of the company with each share than you are with AMC. So unless, GME shoots past $200, leaving AMC at $20, GME will definitely be the better deal in the end. And unless AMC had 10 times the holders, the per capita ownership of GME is actually greater than that of AMC. So I think GME is going to squeeze bigger, so I'm invested more on the GME side than AMC. That's why. That's how I did the math on that. But I still have some because, why not? Why not? It's going to squeeze. But I'm hedging more on the GameStop side. Kyle Banta, is there any particular reason for the 6/3/22 date? Any new guidance going into effect then? I think that has to do with the folks that were talking about the ban on Chinese bonds being used, Chinese military bonds being used as collateral. Is that what it was? Boss Blunt's talking about. Someone brought it up in the podcast this week, last week, sometime. I think that's where the 6/3/22 is talking about. The executive order, whatever, that got put in against having bonds tied to companies in China owned by the Chinese military, I think is what it was. And that either expires or goes into effect, or I don't know, I haven't paid too much attention to it. But I think that's why everyone's talking about that. Okay. Oh man, I'm still so far behind. Oh crap, I'm past the time I need to get out of here. Shit. Okay. Iggy Limon, they fired our traveling nurses to get the government to send in the National Guard to cover. Hospitals pay for it. The government does. So roundabout universal health care. That's awful. Goodness gracious. Okay, I got to get going. I got to run out of here. And I got to give these dogs a quick walk before I do. Thank you everybody for joining me. It was fun. It's always fun on Fridays. Monday should be spectacular. I'll see you guys Monday. Probably after close on Monday because I'll be staring at my charts actually that day to see what happens. And see you then. Did that work for you guys? Little dog? Bigger dog? Everybody happy? Want to come say goodbye? You want to say goodbye? Come on, monkey. Come on. I know you're doing a big stretch. Everyone's doing the big stretches. Come on. Come on. You can do it. Come up and say hi. Come on. There we go. Everybody's saying goodbye. And we're going to do one more outro. Boom.